The silent departure. The observation deck of the UES Dauntless offered a perfect view of the massive Galactic Coalition station slowly shrinking in the distance. Captain Alina Reyes stood with her hands clasped behind her back, her posture rigid as she watched the gleaming structure that had once represented humanity's greatest diplomatic achievement fade into the blackness of space. "All human vessels accounted for, Captain," reported Commander Jackson, her second in command. "The withdrawal is proceeding as scheduled." Elena nodded, her dark eyes never leaving the viewport. "And the Coalition response?" "Multiple hails from the High Council. They're demanding an emergency session." A bitter smile crossed Elena's face. "Of course they are. Now they want to talk." She turned away from the viewport, facing her crew. "For 15 years, they've ignored our petitions, blocked our trade routes, and allowed the Craxes to raid our border colonies. And now that we're leaving, suddenly they want to negotiate." The bridge of the Dauntless was silent. The crew, all veterans of the Coalition Wars, knew what humanity had sacrificed to earn its place among the stars. Billions of lives lost defending Coalition worlds against the Arcturian invasion, only to be treated as second-class citizens once the danger had passed. "The Coalition is broadcasting on all frequencies," said Communications Officer Lin. "They're threatening sanctions if we don't return to the negotiation table." Elena's laugh was sharp and humorless. "Let them try. President Adama has been clear. As of today, Earth and all human colonies are independent of Coalition authority." She moved to the command chair, settling into it with the weight of history on her shoulders. "What's the status of Operation Blackout?" The ship's AI, ARIA, projected a holographic display showing thousands of nodes across Coalition space. "All embedded systems are ready for shutdown sequence, Captain. Awaiting your command." Elena looked at the display, each node representing a piece of human technology integrated into the Coalition's infrastructure. The aliens had never fully understood the extent to which human innovations had become essential to their way of life. The Coalition's vast transportation network, communication grid, and defensive systems all relied on human-designed quantum processors, technology the aliens had accepted eagerly without bothering to learn how it worked. "They always thought we were the primitive ones," Elena said softly, "that we needed their guidance and protection." She looked at her crew, seeing in their faces the same resolve that had brought them to this moment. "Begin the shutdown sequence." On Earth, President Sofia Adama addressed the planetary alliance that represented humanity's 27 colonized worlds. Her voice was firm as it traveled across the vastness of space. "For too long, we have compromised our values and sacrificed our citizens in the name of galactic cooperation. The Coalition has shown time and again that human lives are expendable, that our voices matter less than the oldest species in their ranks. No more." As she spoke, the screens behind her showed human ships withdrawing from every Coalition outpost, military base, and trading hub. The exodus was orderly but resolute, a unified statement that could not be ignored. "From this day forward, humanity stands alone. We will forge our own path among the stars, free from the prejudice and politics that have held us back. And to those who doubt our resolve, remember this: we survived the collapse on Earth. We endured the long winter. We conquered our own solar system without any help from alien civilizations. We will not only survive without the Coalition, we will thrive." Across Coalition space, the effects of Operation Blackout began to manifest. On the luxury planet Callistus, the transportation grid failed, stranding millions of alien tourists in their resorts. In the Proxima trading hub, the automated defense systems went offline, leaving valuable cargo ships vulnerable to piracy. On the Coalition homeworld of Tursus, the planetary shield, designed by human engineers after the Arcturian War, flickered and died. In the council chambers, high-speaker Velix of the Tesseran race called for order as representatives from 17 species shouted over one another. "This is nothing but a temporary tantrum," declared Ambassador Kresh of the Volturi Confederacy, his scaled skin flushing with indignation. The humans will crawl back when they realize they need our markets for their goods. I warned you all, said Neela, the Nerathi ambassador. Her species had been the first to welcome humans into the galactic community, recognizing their potential when others saw only a young, violent race. I warned you that pushing them too far would have consequences. Consequences, scoffed Kresh. What can they do? Their technology is derivative of ours. Their military strength is insignificant compared to the Coalition fleet. As if in answer to his dismissal, the lights in the council chamber dimmed. The holographic displays flickered and died. The universal translators, a human innovation that had revolutionized interspecies communication, fell silent. High Speaker Velix tapped frantically at the control panel embedded in his podium. What is happening? Where are the emergency systems? In the suddenly darkened chamber, Neela's bioluminescent skin cast an eerie blue glow as she rose from her seat. The humans have taken back what is theirs, she said, her words understood only by those who had bothered to learn her language. And you are about to learn how much you depended on them. While the Coalition grappled with the immediate effects of humanity's departure, a predatory species watched from the shadows of uncharted space. The Vorax, a race that had been denied Coalition membership due to their aggressive expansion, had been waiting for this moment. Their supreme commander, Drykos, studied the reports from their spies embedded throughout Coalition territory. The humans have left, he said to his war council, mandibles clicking with anticipation. And they have taken their technological advantages with them. His generals chittered with excitement. For decades, the only thing preventing a Vorax invasion had been the human-designed defense systems protecting Coalition borders. Now those systems were offline, and the Coalition worlds were vulnerable. Begin the preparations, Drykos ordered. The Coalition thought humans were their greatest threat. They are about to discover their greatest mistake. On the Dauntless, Alina received the first reports of distress calls from Coalition worlds. Some were directed at human outposts, begging for technical assistance. Others were intercepted communications between Coalition species, revealing growing panic as more systems failed. They're realizing it now, said Commander Jackson, reviewing the data. How much they relied on us. Alina nodded. They took our innovations without understanding them, implemented our systems without learning to maintain them. They thought technology was just about having the newest gadgets. They never understood that it was about knowledge. The Nerathi are requesting direct communication, said Officer Lin. Ambassador Neela sends her personal regards. Elena smiled slightly. Put her through. The Nerathi were always different. They treated us as equals from the beginning. The holographic image of Ambassador Neela appeared on the bridge, her translucent skin glowing with subtle patterns that humans had learned to recognize as expressions of respect and friendship. Captain Reyes, she said, her voice melodic. I wish to convey that the Nerathi Collective understands and supports humanity's decision. We regret that our influence within the Coalition was not enough to prevent this outcome. Belena's expression softened. Your people have always been friends to humanity, Ambassador. Our quarrel is not with the Nerathi. I fear what comes next, Neela said, her glow dimming slightly. The Coalition is in disarray, and there are rumors of movement along the outer boundaries. The Vorax have been unusually active. Elena exchanged glances with Commander Jackson. The Vorax were known aggressors, a species that valued conquest above all else. Humanity had helped design the defensive network that kept them at bay. The Coalition has its own military, Elena said carefully. They've always boasted of their superior tactics and technology. Yes, Neela agreed, but much of that technology was integrated with human systems, and without the quantum network, the implications hung in the air. Without human technology maintaining the defensive grid, the Coalition worlds were far more vulnerable than they realized. That's not our problem anymore, Commander Jackson said firmly. The Coalition made their choice when they abandoned our colonies to the Craxus raids. Elena was silent for a moment, weighing the political reality against her own conscience, We'll monitor the situation, Ambassador. That's all I can promise for now." After the communication ended, Alina stared out at the stars, feeling the weight of history on her shoulders. Humanity had just declared its independence from the oldest and most powerful alliance in the known galaxy. There would be consequences for the coalition, for humanity, and perhaps for the entire galactic community. "Set course for the Sol system," she ordered. "It's time to go home." As the Dauntless and its escort fleet engaged their FTL drives, none of them saw the Vorax scout ships emerging from the shadow of a distant moon, recording everything and preparing for the invasion that would reshape the galaxy. On Earth, Defense Minister Chen reviewed the latest intelligence with President Adama. "The coalition is scrambling," he reported. "Their dependency on our technology was even greater than we anticipated. Major transportation hubs are non-functional. Communication between systems is delayed or impossible. Their defensive grid is operating at less than 30% capacity." Sophia Adama paced the Situation Room, considering the implications. And the Vorax. Increasing activity along the borders. "Our deep space monitors show fleet movements consistent with invasion preparations." The president stopped, studying the holographic display of the galactic map. Humanity's holdings were marked in blue, a relatively small region compared to the vast expanse of coalition space. But those human colonies were now protected by defenses that the coalition had never been permitted to see or understand. "They thought we were the students," Sophia said quietly. "They never realized we were the teachers all along." Defense Minister Chen nodded grimly. "They're about to learn a very expensive lesson." Part 2. The Price of Arrogance. 6 months after humanity's departure from the Galactic Coalition, the predictions of chaos had proven accurate. The once mighty alliance of 17 species was fracturing under the pressure of technological regression and external threats. Commander Kai Zhang of the Earth Defense Force stood on the bridge of the UES Sentinel, observing the tactical display with a mixture of vindication and concern. The Vorax invasion had begun 3 weeks earlier, their warships cutting through coalition defenses with shocking ease. "Another distress call from the Tesseran homeworld," reported Lieutenant Alvarez. "Their orbital defenses have failed completely. The Vorax have begun surface bombardment." Kai nodded, unsurprised. The Tesseran had been among the most vocal critics of humanity in the Coalition Council. Now they were paying the price for their arrogance. "Add it to the log," he said. "Forward the data to Earth Command." "Sir." Alvarez hesitated. "They're specifically requesting human intervention. They're offering significant concessions." Kai raised an eyebrow. "Such as full technological autonomy, exclusive mining rights in the Cygnus sector, and a formal apology to be entered into the coalition records." A murmur ran through the bridge crew. The Tesseran were notorious for their pride. For them to offer such terms was unprecedented. "Too little, too late," Kai said, turning back to the tactical display. "Our orders are clear. We observe and report. We do not engage unless human interests are directly threatened." The bridge fell silent, each officer contemplating the unfolding disaster in coalition space. The Vorax had already conquered 3 systems and showed no signs of slowing. Without the human-designed defensive network, the coalition worlds were falling one by one. "Sir," said Alvarez, her voice unusually urgent. "New distress call coming in. It's from the Nerathi homeworld." Kai stiffened. The Nerathi were different. They had been humanity's first and most consistent allies in the coalition. When the Kraxis had raided human colonies, the Nerathi had sent aid, even when the coalition refused to act. "Put it through," he ordered. The holographic display flickered to life, showing the face of a Nerathi military commander. The beam's bioluminescent patterns were pulsing rapidly, a sign of extreme distress. "Commander Zhang," the Nerathi said, using the human language with surprising fluency. "I am General Thala of the Nerathi Defense Force. Our world is under attack by the Vorax. Our defenses cannot hold. We request immediate assistance." Kai studied the Nerathi, noting the genuine fear in those alien features. The Earth Defense Force has strict protocols regarding non-intervention in coalition affairs, he said carefully. We understand, Thulla replied. But the Nerathi have never considered ourselves merely coalition members. We have always been friends to humanity. When your colonies suffered, we answered your call. Now we ask the same of you. The bridge was silent as Kai weighed his options. His orders were clear, but there was room for interpretation when it came to protecting human interests, and weren't allies in a hostile galaxy very much in humanity's interest. Send me your tactical data, he said finally. I'll need to consult with Earth Command. After the communication ended, his executive officer approached. Sir, if we intervene for the Nerathi, the Coalition will see it as tacit acknowledgement that we're still part of their system. No, Kai corrected. They'll see it as proof that humanity honors its true friendships. The Nerathi stood by us when no one else would. We don't forget that. On Earth, an emergency session of the Defense Council debated the Nerathi situation. The chamber was divided, with many arguing that humanity should remain isolated from coalition affairs. The Vorax are not our problem, insisted Admiral John. Let the coalition handle their own crisis. They never helped us with ours. President Adama remained silent, listening to the arguments from both sides. Finally, she turned to the one person who had yet to speak, Dr. Elijah Morgan, the architect of humanity's technological strategy. Doctor, she said, you've been quiet. What's your assessment? Elijah stood, his tall frame bent slightly from decades of work in Earth's laboratories. The coalition is falling because they built their society on technology they didn't understand. The Vorax know this. They've been waiting for this opportunity. He activated a holographic display, showing the progress of the Vorax invasion. Their strategy is sound. They're targeting the most technologically dependent worlds first, knowing they'll fall easily. Once they control those resources, they'll be unstoppable. And the Nerathi? President Adama asked. The Nerathi are different, Elijah said simply. They studied our technology instead of merely using it. They worked alongside us as equals. Their world may fall to the Vorax, but they'll inflict significant damage in the process. The president nodded slowly. If we help the Nerathi, we risk being drawn back into coalition politics. If we don't, we lose our only genuine ally in the galaxy. She looked around the room. And we also send a message to every other species that humanity abandons its friends. The decision was made with a narrow majority. The Earth Defense Force would assist the Nerathi, but only the Nerathi. The rest of the coalition would have to fend for themselves. On the Sentinel, Commander Kai received his new orders with grim satisfaction. Prepare for immediate deployment, he told his crew, and activate Project Phoenix. Lieutenant Alvarez looked up in surprise. Sir, Phoenix is still in the testing phase. No better time for a field test, Kai replied. The Vorax think they understand human technology based on what they've seen in coalition space. It's time they learned how far behind they really are. Project Phoenix was humanity's most closely guarded secret, a new generation of quantum-based technology that had been developed entirely independent of coalition influence. While the coalition had been implementing human innovations from a decade ago, Earth's scientists had pushed forward into realms that alien civilizations had deemed theoretically impossible. The Sentinel's engines flared to life, utilizing a propulsion system that allowed it to travel at speeds no coalition or Vorax vessel could match. Within hours, it arrived at the Nerathi homeworld, where the battle was already raging in orbital space. The Vorax fleet, 15 warships strong, had the planet surrounded. The Nerathi defenses were failing, their outdated technology no match for the Vorax's superior numbers. They haven't detected us yet, reported Tactical Officer Chen. Our stealth systems are holding. Kai studied the battlefield. Deploy the Phoenix drones. Target the Vorax flagship first. From the Sentinel's launch bays, hundreds of small autonomous drones emerge, each carrying a quantum disruptor, a weapon designed to interfere with the molecular bonds of any material. The drones moved silently through space, undetected by Vorax sensors. The first indication the Vorax had that something was wrong came when their flagship's hull began to disintegrate. The massive vessel broke apart silently, the quantum disruptors reducing its structure to its component atoms. Panic spread through the Vorax fleet as more ships suffered the same fate. Within minutes, the entirety of the invasion force had been reduced to floating debris. On the Nerathi homeworld, General Thella watched in awe as the Vorax fleet vanished from their sensors. What kind of weapon could do this? She asked the human liaison officer who had arrived with the Sentinel. One the Coalition never knew we possessed, the officer replied. One we developed after we realized the Coalition would never truly accept us as equals. The news of the Vorax defeat at the Nerathi homeworld spread quickly through Coalition space. The remaining Coalition leaders, those whose worlds had not yet fallen, convened an emergency session. We must petition the humans for help, insisted the Tesseran High Speaker, his once proud demeanor now desperate. Whatever grievances exist between us, surely they don't wish to see the galaxy fall to the Vorax. The humans have made their position clear, countered the Volturi ambassador. They will protect their own interests and their true allies. They consider the rest of us to have betrayed them long ago. Then we must prove ourselves worthy of their help, said a new voice. Ambassador Kresh, once humanity's harshest critic, stood before the council. We must acknowledge our mistakes. We treated humans as inferiors when they were, in fact, our superiors in many ways. We must offer them not concessions, but partnership, true partnership, as equals. The debate raged for days while the Vorax continued their advance. Finally, a delegation was chosen to travel to Earth and formally request humanity's assistance. On Earth, President Adama received the Coalition representatives in the Grand Hall of Unity, a symbolic choice, as it was the site where humanity had first agreed to join the Coalition 20 years earlier. You come to us now, she said, her voice carrying through the vast chamber, when your worlds are falling, when your technology has failed, when your military might has proven inadequate. You come seeking salvation from those you once dismissed as primitive. The Coalition representatives lowered their heads in acknowledgement of her words. Humanity does not desire the fall of the Coalition, President Adama continued. Nor do we wish to see the Vorax establish dominance over the galaxy. But our help comes with conditions. She outlined the terms: a complete restructuring of the Coalition Council with equal representation for all species regardless of their technological development or time as spacefaring civilizations, open sharing of all technological innovations, mutual defense pacts that would be binding on all members, and reparations for the human colonies that had suffered during the Craxus raids. The Coalition representatives accepted without hesitation, their former pride dissolved by the reality of their situation. Within days, human fleets deployed across Coalition space, equipped with weapons and defenses that astonished their former allies. The Vorax advance was halted, then pushed back. World by world, the invaders were defeated by technology they could not understand or counter. 3 months later, Commander Kaijong stood on the observation deck of the Sentinel, watching as representatives from 22 species, the 17 original Coalition members plus 5 new additions, gathered on the newly constructed Unity Station. "Do you think it will last?" asked Lieutenant Alvarez, who had joined him. Kai considered the question. The new Coalition. Perhaps. Fear is a powerful motivator, and they've all seen what happens when they underestimate either humanity or external threats. And the Vorax. Contained for now. But there will always be new threats. The galaxy is vast and largely unknown. Together, they watched as the signing ceremony began, the official formation of the new Galactic Alliance, with humanity as one of its founding architects. They had to lose everything to understand what mattered, Kai said quietly. Sometimes that's the only way to learn. As the ceremony concluded, the station's quantum network, a human innovation, broadcast the event across the galaxy. A new era had begun, one in which humanity's place among the stars was not as students or second-class citizens, but as teachers and equals. And in the vast darkness beyond the Alliance's borders, other species watched and learned their own lessons about the race that had risen from a single world to reshape the galactic order. Humanity had left the Council, and the galaxy had fallen apart. But from those ashes, something new and perhaps better had emerged. A true alliance of equals, bound not by tradition or hierarchy, but by mutual respect and the shared understanding that together they were stronger than they could ever be apart.